Nice bit of driving, Mrs. Peel. Time for finesse, for gentle persuasion.
The Avengers, 1961, was known for style and mystery, but one infamous scene pushed things too far. The fallout was so intense, it forced the show off the air. What made this scene so unforgettable, and why did it spark such backlash? Could this scene hold secrets fans never expected? Join us as we uncover the truth no one expected. The struggles that shaped the Avengers. When the Avengers first appeared on television, it was a modest crime drama with a straightforward style. But as the years passed, it grew into something far more daring. By the mid-1960s, the show had transformed into a surreal, high-energy spy thriller that blended espionage, satire, and science fiction in a way audiences had never seen before. This bold direction made the series one of the most ambitious productions of its time, but it also created enormous pressure behind the scenes. As the show dazzled viewers on screen, hidden tensions among writers, actors, and producers threatened its very foundation. One of the earliest points of conflict came with a major casting change in 1965. Honor Blackman, who played the clever and confident Cathy Gale, left the series, and Diana Rigg stepped in as Emma Peel. Her arrival marked a new era. The show adopted a more cinematic style, adding elaborate fight choreography, faster pacing, and more complex storylines. Yet, this shift also sparked disagreements. Some writers wanted to take the series into a more futuristic, experimental direction, while others preferred the witty, playful exchanges that had defined the earlier partnership between John Steed and Cathy Gale. The push and pull between these visions often slowed production, causing delays that frustrated both the cast and crew. Emma Peel quickly became a cultural icon, but her journey was not without battles behind the camera. Diana Rigg, a classically trained actress with strong stage experience, expected her character to be treated as an equal to Patrick Macnee's John Steed. At first, producers leaned toward presenting her as a glamorous sidekick or romantic interest. Rigg resisted, insisting that Peel should be a true partner, capable of intellectual sparring and physical heroics. This persistence caused heated debates in the production office, as some worried that allowing a female character to shine too brightly might upset the balance in what was still a male-dominated genre. Rigg's determination eventually paid off. Emma Peel grew into one of television's most influential female action heroes, admired for her intelligence, independence, and strength. However, another conflict soon surfaced, one that was less about artistic vision and more about fairness. Despite being a co-lead, Rigg discovered that her salary was far lower than Macnee's. Outraged, she demanded equal pay, sparking a dispute that quickly reached the press. Although she managed to secure a better contract, the bitter experience weighed on her, and by 1968, she chose to leave the series altogether. Patrick Macnee, who played the unflappable John Steed and remained the constant figure across all seasons, also faced his share of challenges. While known for his professionalism and charm, his relationships with co-stars were not always smooth. Rumors suggested that Honor Blackman sometimes found his humor irritating, leading to occasional frostiness on set. With Diana Rigg, the tension centered more on creative control. Macnee had long been the face of the show, and Rigg's growing popularity meant that attention was no longer focused solely on him. Though this caused some rivalry over screen time and storylines, both managed to maintain professionalism, and in later years they spoke of each other with warmth and respect. The casting of Linda Thorson as Tara King marked another turning point for the show. Producers wanted a younger and more traditionally feminine character to replace Emma Peel. Thorson, however, was inexperienced compared to her predecessors and faced immense pressure stepping into such a celebrated role. The chemistry between her and Macnee never reached the spark of earlier pairings, and critics noticed. At the same time, the tone of the series began to waver, sometimes playful, sometimes serious, but never quite as sharp as before. By this stage, the Avengers were facing bigger problems beyond casting. Ratings were slipping, networks were interfering more heavily, and the show was struggling to decide what it truly wanted to be. The balance of satire, espionage, and surrealism that once made it special was becoming harder to sustain. Behind the glamour of the costumes and the excitement of the fight scenes, the series was slowly unraveling. Now, before we explore other challenges and the scene that later ended it, let's take a few steps back and understand how it started. The rise of the Avengers. In the early 1960s, British television entered a new golden age. Both the British Broadcasting Corporation and the newer independent television stations were pushing bold and creative ideas, offering audiences something fresher than the usual detective or soap opera stories. Viewers wanted excitement, style, and a touch of sophistication. Out of this growing hunger for modern entertainment came a program that would break the mold and leave a lasting mark on television history. That show was The Avengers. The creator behind the idea was Sidney Newman, a Canadian producer with a reputation for taking risks. Newman had already proven his skills with armchair theater on independent television, a drama series known for daring storylines. By 1960, he wanted something completely different. A series that mixed espionage, mystery, and charm. Instead of copying the tough, hard-boiled detectives popular at the time, Newman pictured a hero who was intelligent, witty, and refined. His vision was a spy thriller filled with suspense, humor, and elegance. The Avengers premiered on independent television on January 7, 1961. In its earliest form, the show looked very different from the version that would later become famous. The original lead was Dr. David Keel, played by Ian Hendry. He was a doctor seeking justice after his fiance's assassin. Alongside him was John Steed, an agent played by Patrick Macnee. In those early days, Steed was not yet the star. He wore a trench coat and came across as a shadowy intelligence officer rather than the eccentric gentleman spy he would later become. The first season leaned heavily on Keel's quest for justice, with Steed supporting him in his investigations. Their contrasting personalities quickly became a highlight. Keel was serious and determined, while Steed was relaxed and mysterious. Together, they created a dynamic that intrigued audiences. But production troubles arrived early. After only one season, Hendry left due to a contract dispute, leaving the show without its original lead. This departure could have ended the series, but instead, it gave the creators a chance to reinvent it. Patrick Macnee's John Steed stepped into the spotlight, and his character underwent a dramatic transformation. Gone was the trench coat. In its place came tailored suits, bowler hats, and the now iconic umbrella. Steed became a stylish, charming gentleman spy, a figure who balanced sophistication with sly humor. This shift gave the show a unique identity, allowing it to stand out from traditional crime dramas. With Hendry gone, the producers needed new partners for Steed. Their solution was to introduce a series of strong female characters who would redefine what women could do on television. The first of these was Cathy Gale, played by Honor Blackman, who joined in 1962. Gale was an anthropologist with expertise in judo and a sharp, confident mind. She was independent, highly skilled, and not afraid to challenge Steed. Unlike the typical female characters of that era, she was not a sidekick or damsel in distress. She was his equal, and often more than capable of saving herself. Gale's striking leather wardrobe, including the famous black catsuit, added to her bold image and quickly became iconic. The chemistry between Blackman's Gale and Macnee's Steed gave the series a spark that set it apart from anything else on television. Their banter, flirtation, and shared respect created a fresh dynamic that audiences loved. The show was no longer a simple detective drama. It was evolving into something entirely new. By the mid-1960s, The Avengers had transformed again, becoming one of the most stylish and influential series of its time. Its blend of espionage, science fiction, and playful humor made it unique: the introduction of Diana Rigg as Emma Peel. In 1965 pushed it to its peak. Peel was designed to be even more sophisticated and layered than Cathy Gale. She was intelligent, graceful, and an expert fighter. Her name, derived from Emma Peel, or Man Appeal, hinted at her broad charm, but she was more than just a glamorous figure. She represented independence, strength, and wit in a way that captivated both male and female viewers. Emma Peel's relationship with Steed was central to the show's success. Their partnership was built on mutual admiration, clever banter, and subtle romantic tension. Unlike many shows of the era, Peel was never reduced to a background figure. Often, she was the one saving the day, turning the usual spy drama roles upside down. Her confidence, intellect, and combat skills made her one of the earliest true female action heroes on television. The series also embraced surrealism during Peel's era. Episodes featured futuristic themes, bizarre villains, and eccentric plots that sometimes felt like comic books brought to life. Underground organizations, strange experiments, and imaginative gadgets became regular features. This touch of fantasy, combined with high production values and the move to color broadcasting in 1967, gave the series a vibrant, unforgettable style. When Diana Rigg left in 1968, the producers brought in Linda Thorson as Tara King. Tara was meant to be younger and more traditionally feminine, a contrast to Peel's sophisticated strength. Though Thorson worked hard in the role, the chemistry between her and McNee did not reach the same level as his earlier partnerships. By this stage, the series was also struggling with declining ratings, network interference, and creative challenges. Still, it remained beloved by many and had already achieved international success. At its height, The Avengers aired in more than 90 countries, making it one of Britain's most successful exports. Beyond ratings and fame, The Avengers left a deep cultural impact. It redefined the spy genre on television, paving the way for future shows like The Saint and The Prisoner. More importantly, it changed how women were represented on screen. Cathy Gale and Emma Peel stood out as strong, intelligent characters who could match or even outshine their male partner. At a time when most female roles were limited, The Avengers proved that audiences loved empowered women in leading roles. Behind the polished surface, the production of The Avengers was not without problems. The demands of filming, creative disagreements, and clashes over character direction often caused friction. Diana Rigg famously fought for equal pay, frustrated by being paid less than her male co-star despite sharing equal responsibility. Her determination highlighted the inequalities of the entertainment industry and made headlines at the time. Patrick McNee himself faced challenges working with his co-stars. His charm made him popular, but his long tenure on the show sometimes led to tensions over creative control and screen time. Even so, he remained a constant presence, guiding the series from its earliest crime drama roots to its surreal and stylish later years. By the late 1960s, The Avengers was beginning to lose momentum. The freshness that once defined it became harder to maintain, and its tone wavered between playful and serious. Yet, even as it declined, the show's influence was secure. Its daring mix of genres, its iconic costumes, and its memorable characters had already cemented it as a legend in television history. But what exactly led to the cancellation of the show? Let's dive into the infamous scene that took the show to its doom. The controversial scene that ended The Avengers. Throughout its years on screen, The Avengers was known for breaking rules and setting trends. From its stylish action to its bold approach to gender roles, it always felt ahead of its time. Viewers came to expect wit, elegance, and a touch of the unexpected in every episode. Yet near the end of its original run, one single moment pushed things too far. What should have been another daring twist instead became the spark that helped bring down one of Britain's most celebrated television shows. By the late 1960s, The Avengers was already struggling. Ratings had begun to slip, and behind-the-scenes troubles were mounting. Cast changes, creative disagreements, and competition from other shows left it more vulnerable than ever. But it was a particular scene in a late-stage episode that sent the series into a real crisis. The storyline in question carried a darker tone than usual, stepping away from the playful style that had once defined the show. While the Avengers had always blended surreal plots with suspense, this time it ventured into territory that felt too grim for prime-time television. The exact details remain uncertain, since the episode was quickly withdrawn and never released for wide viewing. Surviving accounts, however, suggest that it contained disturbing undertones. Some believed the troubling moment involved psychological cruelty that felt uncomfortably real. Others speculated it carried a hidden political or social commentary that clashed with broadcasting rules of the period. Whatever the content, what set it apart from the show's usual campy fights and light-hearted wit was a sense of genuine menace. Instead of playful fantasy, the episode appeared to brush too closely against harsh reality. At the time, British regulators were becoming stricter about television violence, reacting to public complaints about what children and families were seeing on their screens. Executives who had already grown uneasy about the Avengers' slipping popularity now faced the possibility of a scandal. The controversial moment was seen not only as a creative misstep, but also as a risk to the network's reputation. Advertisers worried about associating their products with a program accused of crossing moral lines, and pressure mounted to act quickly. The fallout was not limited to Britain. Across the Atlantic, the series had a loyal audience on the American Broadcasting Company. Yet American networks were equally nervous about conservative backlash. Reports suggest ABC raised concerns about airing the questionable episode, fearing complaints from viewers who expected intrigue and charm, not bleak psychological torment. To avoid further trouble, the decision was made to block the episode before it could air widely. Some accounts claim that a few regional stations managed to broadcast it before the ban was enforced, but no official copies survived in syndication. For decades, the scene remained hidden from public view. Instead, it became the subject of rumor and speculation, a lost piece of television history whispered about among fans and critics alike. The controversy could not have come at a worse time. Since Diana Rigg's departure as Emma Peel, the show had already faced doubts about its creative direction. Critics accused it of chasing shock value instead of maintaining the stylish sophistication that had made it famous. The mysterious banned episode seemed to confirm those fears. Audiences drifted away, and network confidence weakened further. The fallout. The scandal that surrounded the infamous unaired scene struck a heavy blow to the Avengers, a show once celebrated as the height of British television elegance. For years, it had been admired for mixing espionage, charm, and clever storytelling, but by the late 1960s, its ratings had already begun to fall. And the controversy only deepened the impression that the show had lost the spark that made it special. What had once been stylish and witty was now clouded by criticism, and attempts to bring back its golden days grew weaker with time. Behind the scenes, the fallout was immediate. Producers scrambled to repair the show's image, but they could not silence the rising storm. Executives, who were already doubtful about the show's future, grew even more hesitant to stand by it. Advertisers, eager to avoid public anger, began pulling away. Independent television, which had long supported the Avengers through multiple cast changes and shifts in tone, faced strong pressure to make sure such an incident would never happen again. Efforts to quiet the scandal did not work. In fact, secrecy only fueled public curiosity. Rumors about the unaired episode spread quickly, and instead of calming the situation, it created more excitement around the mystery. Viewers wanted to know what had really happened, and speculation became part of the show's reputation. The more people wondered, the more the scandal grew, overshadowing what had once made the series admired. Writers and producers considered steering the series back to its original charm, perhaps even reintroducing the witty, stylish tone that had defined the partnership between John Steed and Emma Peel. But by then, it was too late. The chemistry among the later cast was not as magnetic, and audiences had already started turning their attention to fresher programs that gave new life to the spy genre. The world was changing, and television was offering other options that felt more current and exciting. Although the controversy contributed to its end, the cultural mark of the Avengers was too great to be erased. In 1976, an effort was made to revive the franchise with the New Avengers. Patrick Macnee returned as the charming Steed, joined by Joanna Lumley as the adventurous Purdy and Gareth Hunt as the daring Gambit. This new version sought to modernize the idea, adding faster action and more contemporary elements, while still trying to hold on to the wit and stylish atmosphere of the original. The revival enjoyed some success, but it never reached the brilliance of the 60s series. Budgets were tighter, the television landscape had shifted, and audiences were now chasing different styles of entertainment. After only 2 seasons, the New Avengers came to an end. Still, it proved that the spirit of the original was not entirely forgotten. Even after its cancellation, the influence of the Avengers remained clear. It was one of the first shows to feature strong female leads in central roles, setting a standard that would inspire countless other productions. Its mix of stylish action and light humor created a uniquely British flavor that shaped how spy stories were told on screen. Later shows, such as The Professionals and even Doctor Who, reflected elements of its approach, borrowing its balance of suspense, wit, and style. Over the decades, The Avengers became a cult classic. Reruns, DVD releases, and documentaries kept its memory alive, introducing new generations to its bold characters and playful yet daring spirit. The controversy that had once harmed it eventually became part of its legend, turning into a mysterious story that continued to fascinate fans and television scholars alike. What was once seen as a scandal grew into an element of intrigue, adding another layer to the show's mystique. The cultural ripple effect. The Avengers was not just a television series, it was a cultural wave that spread far beyond the small screen. At its height during the 1960s, it captured the imagination of millions, redefining what television could look like and how characters could be presented. From the way people dressed to the way spy stories were told, its influence was everywhere. One of the most immediate and noticeable impacts of the show was fashion. The sharp suits worn by John Steed became iconic. He was rarely seen without his bowler hat and umbrella, items that soon became associated with British sophistication. Viewers around the world admired this look, which reinforced the image of the gentleman spy. Equally striking were the outfits of Steed's female partners. Cathy Gale, played by Honor Blackman, popularized leather catsuits and bold, confident clothing that reflected her strength. Diana Rigg's Emma Peel added another dimension, introducing sleek, futuristic designs and playful mod styles that perfectly matched the 60s mood. These looks were copied by fashion designers, magazines, and even everyday viewers who saw the characters as trendsetters. The influence lingered long after the show ended, marking The Avengers as one of the first series where clothing was as memorable as the dialogue. While The Avengers was a British production, its appeal quickly went international. When it aired in the United States, it became one of the first British shows to achieve mainstream success overseas. This opened the door for other programs from the United Kingdom, proving that British humor, style, and storytelling could connect with global audiences. In countries across Europe and beyond, the series was translated and broadcast, gaining fans who were drawn to its unique mix of espionage and wit. For many viewers, it provided a glamorous glimpse of Britain, reinforcing the country's reputation as a hub of creativity during the swinging 60s. The series effectively exported British culture at a time when the world was eager to embrace it. Culturally, the show made one of its boldest marks, by redefining gender roles. Female characters in the 1960s were often confined to domestic or secondary parts, but the Avengers shattered that mold. Cathy Gale and Emma Peel were brilliant, skilled, and equal partners to John Steed. They fought villains, outsmarted masterminds, and stood side by side with their male counterparts without being overshadowed. This was groundbreaking. It gave audiences a new vision of what women on television could be: strong, independent, and central to the story. Girls and young women who watched the series suddenly had role models who showed that intelligence and courage were just as glamorous as beauty. This influence extended into future decades, inspiring stronger portrayals of women in action and drama. The fingerprints of the Avengers can still be seen across pop culture. Comic books, music, and later television shows borrowed its quirky style and mixture of humor with suspense. Its surreal settings and unexpected villains influenced everything from spy comedies to science fiction series. Even bands of the era referenced the show, using its sleek energy to shape their image. Decades later, films and series often nodded to the Avengers in subtle ways, from fashion references to playful espionage setups. The fact that the series continues to be revisited in retrospectives, remakes, and documentaries shows just how deeply it became embedded in cultural memory. Above all, the Avengers became a symbol of the 60s spirit. Britain during that decade was experiencing cultural revolution. Music, art, and fashion were all breaking barriers. The series reflected this atmosphere perfectly. Its bold plots, playful tone, and stylish visuals captured the energy of the age. Audiences who lived through the 60s often recall the Avengers as more than a television program. They see it as part of the mood of the time. It mirrored a society that was experimenting, pushing against limits, and embracing new identities. Even in later decades, reruns transported viewers back to that golden age of television when anything seemed possible. So, what happened to the stars of Avengers after it ended? Let's find out. The timeless influence of the Avengers and its stars. When the Avengers finally ended, it did not fade quietly into history. Instead, it left behind a rich legacy that lived on through its actors and its groundbreaking contribution to television, film, and the spy genre. Even though its last years were marked by controversy and decline, the show's spirit continued to shine, shaping future productions and inspiring new generations. Patrick Macnee, who embodied the stylish and witty John Steed, became inseparable from his role. Yet, he managed to prove that his talent went far beyond a single character. After the series, Macnee appeared in a James Bond film in 1985, where he played Sir Godfrey Tibbett alongside Roger Moore. His distinctive voice made him a favorite for narration, lending gravitas to documentaries such as Battle Stations and Inside the World of James Bond. Macnee also appeared on television hits like Columbo and Frasier, and even stepped into animation by voicing the villain Red Claw in the new Batman Adventures. Despite his many roles, he never distanced himself from the Avengers. Instead, he welcomed the connection, often giving interviews and participating in retrospectives. Away from the spotlight, he lived peacefully in California until his passing in 2015 at the age of 93, always remembered as the heart of the show. Before Diana Rigg or Linda Thorson, Honor Blackman set the tone as the confident Cathy Gale. She left the series in 1964 to play Pussy Galore in Goldfinger, one of the most iconic James Bond women. Unlike many actresses who became typecast after a high-profile role, Blackman continued to enjoy success. Her career stretched across film and television, from Jason and the Argonauts in 1963 to appearances in Doctor Who, Coronation Street, and The Upper Hand. Outspoken and proud of her feminist views, she often credited her time on The Avengers as groundbreaking, proving that female characters could be intelligent, independent, and equal to men. Blackman remained admired for decades and passed away in 2020 at the age of 94, leaving behind a legacy of strength and empowerment. Diana Rigg became one of the most beloved faces of the Avengers during her time as Emma Peel. Her charisma, wit, and skill elevated the show to new heights. After leaving, she secured a place in cinema history by playing Tracy Bond in On Her Majesty's Secret Service in 1969, the only woman ever married to James Bond. Her career flourished in theater, particularly with the Royal Shakespeare Company, where she won a Tony Award in 1994 for her performance in Medea. Rigg's television work also kept her in the spotlight, with memorable roles in The Mrs. Bradley Mysteries and Victoria. In the 21st century, she captured a whole new audience as Lady Olenna Tyrell in Game of Thrones, earning multiple Emmy nominations. Her sharp presence and commanding performances made her unforgettable until her passing in 2020 at the age of 82. Linda Thorson faced the challenge of stepping into the shoes of Rigg with her portrayal of Tara King in the final season. Although she did not achieve the same cultural impact as her predecessors, she built a respectable career afterward. Thorson appeared in popular series like Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Law and Order. Special Victims Unit. She also had steady roles in soap operas, including Emmerdale, and dedicated much of her career to theater work. While her time on The Avengers came during the show's more unstable years, she remained proud of her role and maintained a lasting connection with fans. Although the series ended in 1969, The Avengers never truly disappeared. Its influence rippled through later spy dramas, science fiction adventures, and even comedy. In cinema, its touch could be felt in spy films that mixed humor with danger, continuing the balance the show had pioneered. One of the most powerful contributions of The Avengers was its portrayal of women. At a time when female leads were rare, it showcased characters who were intelligent, capable, and never confined to being simple sidekicks. This bold choice inspired countless later productions and helped pave the way for stronger roles for women in action and drama. The series also maintained a cult following. Reruns, home video releases, and documentaries kept it alive for fans both old and new. Discussions about its controversies and highlights only added to its mystique, ensuring it remained a subject of fascination among television historians and loyal viewers. What made The Avengers special was not only its charm, wit, or daring stories, but the way it captured a moment in television history and redefined what could be done on screen. Even after its cancellation, it stood as a symbol of innovation and risk-taking. Through the careers of its stars and the shows it inspired, The Avengers never truly ended. Instead, it evolved into something greater, a cultural touchstone that proved television could be stylish, clever, and ahead of its time. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.